So in terms of net interest margins, you're seeing rates obviously coming down both in terms of deposits as well as lending rates. I mean, we saw very high NIMs across the banking sector last year. So what can a bank now kind of deploy in terms of trying to retain some of these margins even while rates are coming down?
Simple answer is we change the pricing because banks end of the day work on NIMs, right? So we have to maintain some amount of NIM consistency. Last 1.5 years or last year was a very unusual year. If you look at the NIMs of the banks, I think everybody kind of had very decent NIMs. Also, we paid very high amounts for deposits. Some banks paid 25-30%. Like I said, while you were charging 20% for assets. So overall, if you look at, of course, you can say NIMs went up last year, but globally, if you look at globally, NIMs have gone up because Fed rates went up, right? I think that is also over now. Globally, every bank is factoring a NIM reduction for 2024 and 2025, and we will also do the same in Sri Lanka. Having said that, we will also have to lower the deposit rates, no doubt. We can't offer the same 10% for savings accounts and all of that. I'm sure banks have already reduced. All the banks, I believe, most of the banks have reduced rates to mid-single digit or slightly above, maybe. So we will have to maintain consistent margins because the reality is we are getting into Basel III in terms of large exposure policy. We can only lend like 25% of our tier 1 capital to a particular entity. So building up buffers, capital would be critical for the banks. So people should not worry too much about the bank's profitability. Banks also contribute, I think 50% of the profits go for tax, right? I think one of the highest, tax paying industries, I think bigger than tobacco now, if I'm not mistaken. So it's very important that we stay in the business with well capitalized balance sheets to navigate the crisis, because the crisis is not over yet. If you look at what's happening in Red Sea and what's happening around us, very clearly Sri Lanka is not ready for another black swan event, period. There's no debate on that. We are not ready. So it's important that the country builds buffers and we also build buffers as industry. So if banks are stable, we can support the revival process better.